Imagine your life as a tapestry, woven with joy, love, and hidden threads of pain. But what if those forgotten threads weren't just in your past? What if they were shaping your present right now? Your reactions, your fears, your stress. They aren't random quirks. They're whispers from the body, speaking a silent language, the language of trauma. Trauma isn't just a single event. It's the way your nervous system adapts to perceived threats, both real and imagined. It's why a casual comment can trigger shame, why your heart races before a presentation, why you can't seem to relax no matter how hard you try. Today, we're uncovering 7 eye-opening lessons from 2 of the most powerful books on trauma, The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. Bessel von der Kolk and The Myth of Normal by Dr. Gabor Maté. We're not just scratching the surface. We're peeling back the layers to reveal 7 profound truths that will change the way you see yourself. Let's begin. Lesson 1. The silent screams of forgotten trauma. We like to believe that if we don't remember something, it can't hurt us, but the body remembers everything. Dr. van der Kolk's research shows that the brain can compartmentalize trauma, creating a kind of amnesia, but the body never forgets. It speaks through chronic anxiety, unexplained physical symptoms, and emotional reactivity. And then there's a different kind of trauma, the trauma of what never happened. Dr. Maté explains that the absence of love, the lack of emotional attunement, the silent message that your feelings didn't matter, these are just as damaging as overt trauma. They shape your sense of self. They dictate how safe you feel in relationships. If you feel stuck, it's not a failure of willpower. It's a signal from a past you haven't fully acknowledged. Lesson 2. The perfectionism trap. When success is just survival. The relentless need to prove yourself, the inability to rest, the constant feeling that you're never enough. These aren't personality quirks. They're survival mechanisms. Dr. van der Kolk explains that for many trauma survivors, performance became their currency for safety and acceptance. Workaholism isn't always ambition. It's often a desperate attempt to outrun the fear of inadequacy. Dr. Maté reveals how society glorifies trauma-driven behaviors, labeling them as grit or dedication. But beneath that success is exhaustion. If slowing down makes you anxious, your nervous system still believes that survival depends on relentless productivity. Lesson 3. Why trauma hides in your body and how to release it. You've heard that stress is bad for you, but did you know it can physically rewire your body? Long-term trauma keeps your nervous system in survival mode, leading to chronic inflammation, gut issues, and autoimmune disorders. Your body reacts to past pain as if it's still happening, even years later. Dr. Maté explains that many illnesses aren't just genetic. They're stress-related. People who suppress emotions are more likely to develop migraines, autoimmune disorders, and chronic fatigue. Your body isn't betraying you, it's trying to protect you. But now, it's time to listen. Lesson 4. The trauma of emotional neglect. What didn't happen matters. We think of trauma as violence, abuse, or tragedy, but one of the most damaging forms of trauma is invisibility. Children who grow up with emotionally distant parents often struggle with self-worth, relationships, and emotional regulation as adults. They may become emotionally numb, overly independent, or terrified of abandonment. Our culture normalizes emotional neglect. Toughen up. Stop crying. You're too sensitive. These messages disconnect you from yourself. They teach you to suppress your needs until you don't even recognize them anymore. Not all trauma is about what happened to you. Sometimes it's about what never did. Lesson 5. Addiction is not about substances. It's about pain. We judge addiction harshly, but what if addiction isn't about substances at all? Dr. Maté says the right question isn't why the addiction, but why the pain? Trauma survivors self-medicate with social media, food, overworking, and drugs or alcohol. It's not a lack of willpower, it's survival. Society blames addicts but never asks what they're running from. Healing starts when we stop punishing the symptom and start addressing the pain. Lesson 6. You inherited more than your eye color. The truth about generational trauma. Trauma doesn't just shape you, it shapes your children and grandchildren. Studies show that trauma alters DNA expression, meaning stress responses can be inherited. But it's not just biology. Trauma is passed down through parenting styles, emotional repression, and unconscious family patterns. Breaking the cycle starts with awareness. The way you were raised was shaped by what came before you, but you have the power to rewrite the future. Lesson 7. Your healing starts now. You are not broken, you are not flawed, you are a survivor. Every reaction, every coping mechanism, your body and mind created them to protect you. Even if those defenses no longer serve you, they once did. But now, you have the power to listen, to decode the silent messages your body has been sending, to finally begin healing. Healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about rewriting your relationship with it. If you want to deepen your understanding of trauma, my audiobook summaries of The Body Keeps the Score and The Myth of Normal break down these life-changing books into clear, powerful insights. Check the links in the description below to start listening. This journey requires courage, compassion, and a willingness to look inward. If this video resonated with you, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and become part of our community. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments. And remember, healing isn't just personal, it's a collective awakening.